Welcome back to It Was Never a Phase Cards. In today's Pokemon Market Update, we're going to be talking about Black Bolt and White Flare, the sets that got illustration rares for every single Pokemon. And we've seen the singles since release been dropping and dropping for a while now, but now we're starting to see quite a few of them bounce back up. So we're going to just dive straight into it. We're going to start off with some of the chase cards, and we'll cover a little bit of everything in this video, including some sealed product at the end. But let's just start off with, this is the Zekrom 166 special illustration rare. We will be covering the other, like the black white rarity cards as well, but what we're seeing right now is this card is up 13 almost 14% just in the past month, and this is one of those ones that was falling pretty big for the past few months. Was $200 a month ago. It's now up to $227, and this is another one that on TCG Player is kind of at a little bit of a low supply. There's only 15 copies, so this one definitely could trend up. You're seeing the market at 227 right here, but the lowest listeds right now are 268 and up, and only what 1, 2, 3, 4 sales in the $200 range, and then this would be a $300+ card. So I definitely could see this card moving up into the future. If you zoom out right here on the 3-month, you can see, at release right here, this previously was a $325 card ish, and then off of that it fell down to as low as $199 was the low, and then it kind of leveled off, and then more recently we're seeing that movement there. Now on the PSA 10 side for this card, pretty consistent sales. We've seen 685, 617, 650, 700, 620, 645 for the last solds in a PSA 10. Now, if we're going to touch on that card, we do have to touch on the Reshiram from White Flare, the other equivalent to the Zekrom there. This is a special illustration rare 166. Now, this one's up 14% in the past month from a low of 165 up to 193, and then it's kind of come down just a little bit. So it had a little shot up and then slight retracement. But if you zoom out on the 3-month, you can see 347 at release, and it's down 45% from that price. So this 165 price was the low, and it's really bounced off of that. A little bit higher supply of this card. I think Zekrom maybe being a little bit more popular. There's 35 copies currently on TCG Player. Lowest listeds, you kind of see a similar thing happening. There's just a few right here in the 180s and 190s, and then we get back up into the 200s. So not as valuable of a card as the Zekrom, but it's kind of following a similar trend. It's just a little bit lesser of value there for the Reshiram. So current market price at 189. And PSA 10s, though, have been selling about the same as the Zekrom. You can see in the 600s right here, 680, 660. 700, 610, 700, 690, actually, so maybe a little bit higher, honestly, than the Zekrom card there. So special illustration rares doing well. There's a ton of, this is another SIR, but there's a ton of illustration rares that we're going to talk about, because every single Pokemon has at least an IR, or in some cases like this, an SIR. So this is the Kyurem. This one's up 13% in the past month. Most of these are going to be following a similar trend, right? They've been falling off of release until recently. They've been kind of seeing an uptick. So right now this card's at around $74, up 13%, like I mentioned earlier. At release, this card was as high as 130, and it fell down. Looks like the low was around 61, and now it's up into the 70s. So not the craziest dollar gain, but percentage-wise, 13%, starting to trend upwards. 33 copies currently available. There is one lowest listed, actually, one listing below market, and then after that we're right there at the current market price. So this is one where I don't think it's going to be shooting up too much, but this is a nice SIR. I do think this is a very cool looking card. I think this Kyurem card looks really nice. Next up we have, so this is from White Flare. This is the Virizion number 095. This one's up massively in the past month, 74, almost 75% for this illustration rare. Back here it was around $12. Now we're seeing it over 20 at 22, and this one might be trending up. Look at most recent sale, 28, and then we have all the lowest listeds are 28 and higher for the Virizion. And if you zoom out right here, this one's actually up on the 3-month, just barely, because at release, this was a $21, $22 card, and then it fell all the way down to that 11, 12 mark that we mentioned earlier. So you'll see this pattern on a few of these cards as well, this cup shape where it just went down and then right back up to kind of where it was before. But this is a really nice illustration. I actually like this one a lot. So, but still very affordable, all things considered. There's just so many illustration rares that it's been harder to like we've seen, you know, people targeting buyouts on some of them from this set, from both of these sets, and you've seen them shoot up, but there's just like so many illustration rares, it's kind of hard to like focus and to like nail anything down. There's just so many great arts. Speaking of another one, this is the Keldeo from White Flare. This is an SIR number 167. This is a card I haven't seen in person, but I would imagine that this card with these colors being an SIR would really pop. I would assume that this is a great looking card. Currently around $66, up 31% in the past month from 51 up to where it currently is at. And if we zoom out, this one has a little bit different pattern. $62, $63 at release, shot up to 74, fell back down to 51, and now we're seeing it get back up into the $60 range. Lowest listeds right now, looks like there's a few below, just a handful below the current market price, and then we're pretty much right there. This one has a little bit higher supply as well, 43, so it might take a little bit more time for this one to move, but if it can get back up to this previous high, that would be an interesting point for it to hit. Also worth noting though, 117 copies sold in the past month, and there's only 43 listed. So we definitely could see some movement if this amount of sales continue on the Keldeo into the future. And then we do have to touch on the black and white rarities. This is the Zekrom from Black Bolt number 172, the black white rarity, the new rarity that they introduced just for these sets. And this is starting to bounce a little bit as well. Not as much. This obviously is a very expensive card, very difficult to pull. Current market price is at $422. It's up almost 8% in the past month. You see a little bit of fluctuation happening here, but right now around 422. A little bit lower supply, only 20 copies. Lowest listeds right now are there's 3 below the current market price in that low 400s, and then it shoots up into it goes from 450 to 500 on the listings. So we could see some jump on this one into the future as well. At release, this card was as high as 479. So a little bit of growth needed to get back to that previous high. It'll be very interesting to keep an eye on if that can happen. So that's the Zekrom Black White Rare. And then we also have to touch on, now there's 2 versions of this card for each set. There's a 171, and I think the other one's a 172 from both Black Bolt and White Flare. This is the Victini Black White Rare, even though it's red. This monochromatic. These cards are crazy. I have seen this in person, and initially my thoughts for these, like off the photos of what we had seen, I was like, but when you see them, they really do shine. They are nice looking cards, and this one is bouncing up almost 13% in the past month. Current market price at $490. Most recent sale $530. Lower supply 16 copies. Lowest listeds right now. This is a Portuguese copy. Lowest English copy is $530. So it looks like this one is in the middle of making another jump. So if we get these sales to continue, it's going to be bouncing even bigger. And now this one has defied what we've seen the other cards do. Came out the gate at 358, shot up to the 450s, came down a little bit, kind of like more or less stagnated for a little while, and then now is on a run up. So the Victini Black White Rare is up pretty big as well. We'll have to see where this one can continue to end up. I'll keep you guys updated. It's not that many sales really needing until it gets up into that 600 plus range. So definitely possible for this card to see, but keep in mind there is another version of this card from White Flare as well. Next up, we have another great looking illustration rare, a little more of a serious look, if you will, for the Haxorus. This one's up almost 10%, not as crazy as some of the other ones, but it is a really nice looking IR. It's up almost 10% in the past month. The 3-month chart shows very similar to what we've seen for some of the other cards. $63 at release, and then it's kind of just fallen down, like I said, more recently till around 38 was the low. So it hasn't bounced too crazy as far as dollar wise, but you know, a 10% jump is pretty decent for this card. Lowest listeds right now are around 40, in that $40 range. Need a few more sales to happen for some of these cards to move there. So, and this is a nice IR. I do like this card. Next up is the Superior number 164 from Black Bolt. Now this is an SIR, and this one was a little controversial when it came out because this was the only starter that got an SIR. The other starters, the Snivy and Tepig did not get their final evolutions did not get SIRs like this one did. They just have regular illustration rares. But anyways, this one's not up as much. It's just a very minor fluctuation. It's up only around 3% currently. But you can see this was $50 at release. It shot up to around 53 and then came down the recent low of 42, and it's up to 44. So this one's not moving as crazy, but still worth mentioning. I do like this card. It is a nice looking SIR, but I think of the starters, I think I prefer the illustration rares of the other starters over this SIR version. Just my my personal taste when it comes to that card. And if we're going to talk about Superior, we need to talk about Snivy. This one is from Black Bolt number 087, illustration rare. It's up around 10% in the past month. A similar thing. This is just one of those kind of cutesy style cards. If you look at the 3-month chart, this one did shoot up after release. It was 18, 19, shot up as high as 23, came back down to as low as 18, and now it's back up to around 21. Currently, lowest listeds, and then that's what we're seeing for lowest listeds right now, all 21 and up. So might be able to get back to this previous all-time high. Might just need a few more time, a few more sales. Just for reference as well, there's only 97 copies, which, you know, seems like a decent amount, but in the past 1 month, 163 copies have sold. So if this trend continues, the supply will start to dwindle here, and we'll see these prices move up into the future. Here's another one from White Flare. This is Lipard number 137. Real quickly too, there are so many illustration rares from the set. If I missed a card that you wanted me to touch on, throw it in the comments, and then I will try and touch on it in the future. There's just so, like, I literally can't, we can't talk about every card from both of these sets because they're just so deep. But this is one that's seeing a little bit bigger gain, and I can really see why. I like this illustration rare a lot. I think this is kind of one of the cooler ones as well. It's up 27%. Once again, a lot of these lower dollar ones, they're not big dollar movements. It's just decent percentage gains. 27% is a good chunk, but it just, you know, it goes from 15 up to 19, so dollar wise doesn't move a lot. But this is another one we're seeing lower supply of. 28 copies currently, with 99 sold in the past month, so this is another one that could move big. This is another one with that cup formation. Previously, this was at $22, and then went as low as 15. Now it's up, creeping up closer to 20. Lowest listeds right now are right there. They're all 20 and up if you include shipping. So definitely going to be trending up into the future. We'll see if it can hit that 25 plus mark. Definitely possible for a nice looking illustration rare from the set. And then we have, this is the Tepig from White Flare number 096 illustration rare. One of my favorites from the set. I think this is one of those absolute adorable ones, but it's up around 16.5%. Currently, it's just under $20, and you'll see a very similar trend with this one as well. 79 copies currently available, with 167 having sold in the past month. So a lot of people have been buying these cards, and this one hasn't bounced back as much. It was higher, way higher at release, around $32. So this card has fallen very, very hard, and it's still down 41% from these release highs. So this one fell a lot. I think it does have some more upwards movement to be seen here, just because I think that Tepig being an adorable starter, I think is going to do well into the future. And I think we'll see this trend at least continue for at least a little while longer. And we'll see some of the supply start to dwindle. Lowest listeds are around 20 currently. So we'll see. It'll take a few more sales just to continue to get this to move. Next up, this is the Black White Rare Reshiram from White Flare number 173. Now this one is not really bouncing currently. In the past month, it's kind of just flat, right? It's down 0.7%, pretty much flat. If you look at the 3-month, it's down 24%. So this one hasn't really hit its bounce point yet. Could be coming into the future. It was as high previously as $488 at release, and this is one that's just fallen. It's still not down. I mean, obviously, you know, it's fallen over $100, but still very expensive card. Another one that could move into the future based off of the current trends of what we've been seeing, with 54 copies selling in the past month alone and only 34 currently listed. It might be time. This one might just have been a little bit behind some of the other cards, and it might be on its way up. Lowest listeds right now looks like we're at 365 and up. So take a few more sales for this one to start to move. So just a little bit more down and maybe behind the trend, if you will. Next up is the Hydreigon from White Flare. This is a special illustration rare, number 169. Very similar, up around 11%. Another low supply. Right now, this one has an even bigger disparity. 106 sold in the past month, with currently only 21 listed. So this one definitely could see some movement up. This is another nice looking special illustration rare as well, and it's down 58% from its release high of $205. So it's definitely come down quite a bit from over 200 to under 100 currently. I wouldn't be surprised to see this card in the near future definitely break over the $100 mark. I don't know how far into it's going to go, but I could definitely see this card moving up well over the $100 mark into the future. And then here's another one of those, the great starter illustration rares that I was mentioning earlier. This is the Samurott. I like this one a lot more than the Snivy personally. I like all the Pokemon in the background, all the Wingulls, but this one's up almost 10% in the past month. And you will see the chart's a little glitched. For some reason, it's showing some weird thing happening right here, but this one's actually come up since release. $27 at release. It went as high as 53, and then so it's come down a little bit, and now it's into around 45. Now it's bouncing back up, back to that $50 range. For a nice looking IR, lowest listeds are 50 and up, so right there at that current market price. So this one might need a few more sales, same thing, to see some more additional movement on the Samurott. If we're going to talk about Samurott, we got to talk about Oshawott. This definitely would probably be my favorite of the starters when it comes to an illustration rare. Yeah, I think I'd take this over Tepig personally. I think this one's just cuter. But up 21% in the past month, so seeing a little bit bigger of a bounce. And similar situation here, 46 copies listed with 157 sold. So a lot of people are interested in picking up this card, and the supply is starting to dwindle. Previously, this card was as high as around 50. It's had some fluctuations, went down to 41, back up to 48, down all the way to 37, and now it's back up to around 48. With the lowest listeds currently, as of this recording, pretty much right there at that 48 and up range on the Oshawott. Next up, underrated card, I still think, for me, is the Chandelure. Haven't picked up this card. I do want to pick up the whole Chandelure line. It's giving like Beauty and the Beast scene right here with the dancing and the flying cups and everything. But it's up around 16%. This one's fallen off. I think it fell off kind of hard. Back here it was around $59. So it's still down 34%. At one point it was down around 44% when it was at $33. So starting to see a little bit of a bounce back for this IR. Similar thing as all of the other cards from these sets. 36 copies with 98 sold in the past month. So we're probably going to continue to see these trend up into the near future. Lowest listeds right now are actually starting to get closer to 40 right here when you include shipping. So this one's definitely going to continue to trend up into the future. I like the Chandelure line. I used to absolutely hate this Pokemon. I don't know why, but it grew on me. And I don't know why. I like Chandelure a lot. And then lastly, we just want to talk about some sealed product. We're not going to go too deep into it, but I just mostly wanted to mention the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes. It's kind of the premium product. This is both of these being specialty sets. They don't have booster boxes or anything. Obviously, ETBs are going to be, I think ETBs and maybe booster bundles are the main way people will open this product. But, the flagship would be obviously the Pokemon Center ETB, which we are seeing start to shoot up. Not as expensive as some of the other ones that we've seen. I think most of that has to do with the promos, in my opinion, just not really being that good. I think they could have definitely hit with some better promos. Not that they're bad looking promos by any means, but just the Pokemon that they chose, I think, just could have been a little bit better. They could have chose some cooler ones, in my opinion. But 10% up in the past month, and obviously we were seeing some pretty crazy highs when it came to release for this. But it's up pretty decently from 145 essentially up to 210. Definitely going to be continuing to trend upwards into the future. $258 is the listed median price on these boxes. So we'll see these continue to move up. Just not as desirable as some of the other Pokemon Center ETBs that have been coming out. And then we have, this is the Black Bolt one, PC ETB, up 18% in the past month. It's currently at 230, but trending up because you have the listed median price right here at 275. So a little bit more expensive than the White Flare. Not surprising. to see there. And looks like, yeah, 160 has been the low on this, so it's come up quite a bit recently. Let's see what the lowest listeds are. There's a few under current market, but then they're pretty much right there, and they'll be trending up once again. I just think those promos maybe holding them back just a little bit. So that is pretty much what I have for you guys in this one. A little bit, it's not different style of video. It's just like some sets that we haven't really talked about too much. I know they're not very old, right? They just came out like a few months ago, but there hasn't been a ton to talk about besides some of the buyouts that have been happening on some of the illustration rares. And this really these sets are really kind of unfortunately kind of primed for that, just because there's so many IRs that like a lot will get kind of forgotten about or easier to manipulate, just because they'll be like lower value as well, so people can buy a ton of them, and it's going to shoot the price up. We'll probably see that trend continue into the future, at least for a little while. It's kind of just unfortunate, but it just has so many illustration rares between the two sets. So anyways, I'll keep you guys updated on that stuff as well. We try not to cover too much of the buyouts when it's like a blatantly like weird buyout. I try not to cover it too much, but it's kind of a double-edged sword, because I do like making you guys aware of, because there's a lot of people who are newer coming into the hobby every day. If you've been around for a while, obviously you know what you're seeing, but there's a lot of people who don't, so it's kind of like you don't want to make people FOMO into it, but you also want to make people aware of like, hey, this is happening. And previously we just talked about a few videos ago talking about some of those buyouts and using some examples of other cards that were bought out that shot up real big and came back down, and so we use some of those examples in those videos, so you can go back and check out go back a few videos if you want to check that out. But that's all I have for you guys in this one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one, and remember, it was never a phase.